It always comes to this. Hello there guys, back again to do another tattoo progress update. Where I last left off, I had showed off the rework second pass of my eye tattoo. If you've been following along, you'll know that I'm going to have one more pass on that before I'm done. But it's proceeding really quickly. It was pretty sore last time, so I think we'll probably give it a little bit more time in between passes this time. Obviously, every part of my body has been gone on, tattooed on probably between, 10 and 30 times. Other than my legs are lagging. They're more like 2 to 5 times. But that won't be forever. I'll get back to those. Not to get off topic too much already. I do plan on doing more on my eye tattoo, but it will be a little while before I get there, as fairly soon I'm going to be doing my ears and my neck, but I'm going to get into that after. I'll show off how the eye healed up here. So you can see all these colors. They're not actually that much brighter than last time, because for what it's worth, the first pass they healed really bright. We started out with more or less like a light skim second pass, and then Terry was just like, well, I may as well just hit it all. It's going really quick anyway. So the colors that we had were the colors I wanted, so I wasn't really that upset about that. Everything again is just a little bit more solid than it was, and we have changed some of the colors in here. You can go and you can compare with the old version of it and see that for yourself. With that said, we had added all of this color in here. There's quite a bit of color in there. It's really hard to tell any of it apart right now, even for me. And that's okay, because that was very fresh black. Like, even if you look at the parts of this that were black, or that still are just solid black, like this is like very new black, and it's a little bit hard to cover fresh black with bright color. And we did it. We've done it before, God knows. But for anyone who watched my chest tattoo journey, like doing this guy, you'll know that when it's darker black you're covering, it'll take more passes to do so. So if you are interested in it, and knowing this, because I still get so many people ask, how long do you have to wait for the black to settle before you can cover it? You don't have to wait, but you'll end up doing more passes if you don't wait as long. So, for example, when I cover up my my torso here with more color, everything in here has been, healed for so long that it's going to take that really easily. Whereas with this and other things, like say if I covered my back already, it would take probably twice as many passes to get the color to be vibrant. But that being said, you can make out the color, you just can't tell exactly what's going on in there, and that's more or less what Terry and I both expected. And this was more just to bring in the color so that we could work over top of it again later and build up the layers. And as long as it's not completely black when we're done, it's a win. That said, it still looks fucking cool. I still really like this. Even with just this little bit of color, I think it made a difference. It's got a better definition or effect to it than it did before, I feel. But that may be subject to debate, as no matter what I do, someone is very unhappy, always. And that is more or less my life on social media, or as a social media influencer. Which is hilarious, because that was certainly never my goal. I posted pictures of my tattoos and they took off. That's it. I didn't sign up to become an influencer one day. These things happen. With that said, the obvious elephant in the room, and the reason why I haven't even bothered to mention it yet, is because God knows it's clear as day. Punch you in the face. I had my eyelids tattooed. It's been 3 days. I should say that all of this work now is fully, well, for me, this is as good as most people's 6 month sealed. Because as we all know, I heal very quickly. I don't make it, I'm not bragging, but I heal very quickly. Like, for example, this peeled in 2 days. So it's been 2 weeks now. Don't look for that to change much. You'll be very disappointed. This is semi-dry. I'm not really caring for it that much anymore. And for reference, I will be doing down here today, as I'm just home from Kelowna now. So I'll be doing another video on this subject tomorrow. So I'm not going to get too much into my arm. It's healing great. Same as the color. That was done about a week and a half ago, right before I left to Kelowna. It was, I would say, 12 hours before I hopped the plane to Kelowna. I had my sternum and entirely redone there, and chest, stomach, whatever. I don't even know how to say where that is. It's the center of the stomach, but it's not the chest. It's not the stomach. It's in an odd spot. Anyway, I had my eyelids tattooed. The whole story there is, it isn't much. There isn't much to say on the origins of 2 bats on my eyelids, other than to say that I was up visiting a very good friend of mine, Lee, who was responsible for much of my first bodysuit. Certainly not all of it. He probably worked on me between 400 and 500 hours in his own right. The only person who's tattooed me more than Lee is Rick. But at the time Lee was tattooing me, he was my main artist, and he had done the most on me at that point. There are a few other people who have worked on me for similarly long amounts of time. A guy named Andy, who did my first torso work and a lot of my right sleeve, and maybe some one-offs here and there. I worked with him for probably around 300-400 hours as well. No, maybe not 3, maybe 2. It's hard to say, somewhere around there. And then now Terry and I have worked together for probably about as long as that, maybe getting closer to as long as I've worked with Lee. And then Rick and I are up to God knows how many hours. People ask me so often, and I got this question so often over the last few days and weeks, how long I've been tattooed, and my loose estimate currently is just over 2,000 hours. That number's changing all the time, so you'll see me give different estimates for that number all the time. But because I do this more or less casually as a passion project, there's no real firm number on that, but it is into the absurdities. I digress. I will finally talk about my eyelid tattoos, I promise this time. First thing I get up there, I see Lee, and Lee I haven't seen in close to 2 years at this point. And Lee and I go way back, and we have some really gruesome horror stories with tattoos. We've had some really, really crazy sessions, and some of my favorite sessions have been with Lee. He's a great tattooer in general, but he's also a great hang, and you always have a crazy experience getting tattooed by Lee. The guy moves really, really fast if you're doing realism, or in my case, well, no, I did a lot of realism with him too. But he did my blackout work. He packs black really quick. Hell of a guy. It's hard to explain. But he wanted to tattoo me. He wanted to tattoo me last time I was up there. Originally, I was going to have him do the cover-up of the dagger and the rose that were here, and bring kind of a new design to my face, but we just didn't have time last time. He was the one who first did the white on red on my roses on my head. And he was the one who turned my stars into roses. I'll put a picture in here of what those looked like. These were once stars. So very creative mind for cover-ups as well, and kind of well-versed at tattooing in general, and he's been tattooing for 27 years. Not sucking this guy off, just giving kind of a cursory knowledge of him for the people who haven't been watching since the days I was working with Lee. And there are videos on this channel describing sessions with Lee from 4 or 5 years ago. To sit down with Lee it's always an honor. It's always fun. You know, we don't have negative space to work on, and part of the problem with tattooing me now is like all of my projects are kind of ongoing, and so it's not like he can just jump in and contribute to either sleeve or my torso, or you know, we're not going to be able to do a full back like piece on me over top of the black. I did mention we could do something on my legs. Lee is he's very used to working with opaques as it is. He's done a lot with opaques, so and just in general, he's someone who's already covered black, so it's not really like he couldn't have done that, but he wanted to do something that wouldn't take so long, but would be extreme just for old time's sake, like kind of a quick one-off. And he asked me if I had any ideas that the boys here were not keen on, and I told him that, you know, I had an idea for Terry once, and I didn't discuss it on here because I haven't thought about it, but because, as I always say, I don't talk a lot about something if I can't do it, if I can't wrap my mind around it. Same reason you won't hear me talk about something until, you know, just shortly before I do it. I under promise, over deliver kind of thing, right? I don't want to be Black Alien Project talking about removing his legs, and then 2 years later he's cooking a fucking soccer ball around. I don't want to be that look. That's a bad look, because then people start calling you on it, and they start expecting you to do these things, and you know, keep your words at a size and a level that you can eat them if you need to. I will talk more about things as I get to them. So I asked Terry if he wanted to do these eyelid tattoos probably about a year ago, and he was like, "You're fucking crazy. I'm not doing that." So as we know, I have my ears planned. I told Lee, here are two things that I think are hard to wrap our minds around in Lethbridge. I do have an ear tattoo project coming up, but Lee had a different vision of that. He actually thought that we could turn my ears into some form of realistic bat ear, but I think he needed more time on that idea. Like, that was kind of it still needed to be in the oven for a little longer, which I can fully appreciate. Now, he didn't say that, but that's my summation of what happened there. I also pitched him the ideas of my eyelids, and originally, as Lee's never done eyelids, and really few tattooers have, it's not something you're going to be doing every fucking day, especially not if you've got yourself into a niche. He seemed initially repelled by the idea, but then as it sat in, it won out, and I was game for either. And, you know, don't tempt me with a good time. I'm always ready to get tattooed. He kept saying, "You ready to do this, Jer?" I'm like, "Yeah, if you want to do it, let's do it." There was like a running joke that it wasn't going to happen because of the last time when he wanted to do my face rework and we didn't have time. But we actually did it. I bet another person working at the shop that it wasn't going to happen, and I think that's why he was like, "You're not winning $20 on that bet, motherfucker." So he sat down at 7:30 after a 9.5 hour long session that he had on a guy. They, for the record, did a giant tiger back piece in one session. I'll put that in here. It's pretty impressive work, but this is kind of the thing that Lee does and is known for. So for me, it's maybe not as impressive as it is for some of the people who will see it now. I've seen him do this shit forever. He's been doing this stuff for ages. This is why he's a $2,500 day rate before tax. People come to Lee and magic things happen, you know. They fly in and they leave with these giant pieces. I'll get more into that, though, another time. So he sat down around 7:30 after he'd had a very long day tattooing already, stenciled it, banged it on. I think took like maybe 5 tries to get the one stenciled properly. Anytime you're doing things that are loosely the same, and though these are not perfectly symmetrical, they never could be. Good luck with that when you have such a wild design. They're close enough, and I actually kind of like that they're a little asymmetrical. They're asymmetrical to the point where you can slightly notice if you know, But even then, I still do have some swelling, obviously, and so it will be a little while before we can see exactly what they're going to look like. With that said, the actual tattooing was not that painful. I posted this thing to my Instagram, and I swear to God, like, the amount of people who ask me about the pain it's always like, I understand, but like, it's not the most important part, like, ever. What about living with it? What about healing it? What about the swelling? What about like, these other things? But always what people want to know about is how it felt, like the pain of it. And like, that's the part that would keep people from doing it. Well, if that's the case, this is not one that you should skip out on, because the pain was not that crazy. I would give it like a hard 5. But the problem is, when you have a hard 5 hitting your eye has got this involuntary twitch or spasm that happens. And even me, you'll see, I'll have them playing here, the clips. You'll see me sit like a rock, and you'll see me sit like a rock for everything. But just because I'm not feeling that banged up by it doesn't mean that the eye doesn't have an involuntary flex. So there were a few times when I did tell Lee, and this is where you have to have proper communication with your artist when you're doing this, I can feel my eye just needs to spasm for a second. Like, we need to just break for 10 seconds. So this is a guy who can nail out a fucking full tiger back piece in a sitting. These took us around 30 to 45 minutes, and it was intense. It was harder for him to do this than it was for him to do the tiger, because he had to be ready to pull that needle out at a dime's notice if I blinked. I never did blink, but I always felt like I was about to. My eye definitely did twitch, and whenever it would twitch, you got to stop, or you're gonna possibly blow out, or run a line in the wrong position, or just stab someone in the eye, or there's any kind of thing that can go wrong. And for the record, Lee said he would never do this on someone that just walked in the shop asking. He would never do it. He would have to know them really well and know what they can sit for and how well they'll sit before he would even consider it. But he just outright may never do it again. And while it was fun to do on me, it was very intense for both of us, because we were just focusing so much on making sure shit didn't go wrong that it wasn't an enjoyable session in the way that sitting down for an arm tattoo is. With that said, being as difficult as it was to execute this, made it more of a memory, and that's exactly what we were going for. We wanted something to kind of celebrate the fact that Lee gets to tattoo me for the first time in around 4 years. The last thing he did was he blacked out my left foot and my entire ankle and most of my shin. And so he and I have always pushed the envelope pretty good, and we wanted one more of those. With that said, there was no pain really after the procedure. There's some kind of dull pain maybe, but there was a lot of bruising and swelling, and there still continues to be a lot of bruising. The swelling is mostly gone, but as you can see, I'm wearing what appears to be eyeshadow, and it has started to become eyeliner. And that's exactly what Lee figured would happen. There was a point during the session where I could see color. I thought that my eye was opening on me because I could see color through my eyelid. I could see shades of yellow, red, orange in this eye, and I thought my eye was opening, but it wasn't. So yeah, there's probably a better way to do eyelids. Like, I had some people ask, do we use shields or anything to grip my eyes down in place? But when you're not doing eyelid tattoos every fucking day, you're not going to be coming up with a perfect solution when you have to do them. So, for example, Lee's wife helped stretch my eyelid. And there was, when she was working at the bottom, she pulled on my eyelashes to keep my eyes closed. And even though my eyes never really opened, it felt good to know I had someone there that was at least trying to help keep my eyes shut in the event that did happen. But that said, I didn't feel like it would have prevented me from opening my eyes in the event that I did have a really crazy spasm. So there was this layer of danger to it that was really interesting, and you don't get to do those things very often, so I'm happy that I did it when I was visiting my old tattooer, and we get to be, doing the weird shit again. So it was a fun time. I don't love the bruising. I look like I have stage makeup, or like when I used to put eyeliner on as a kid, as a goth kid, still a goth kid at heart, obviously. And then you'd wake up and you hadn't cleaned your eyeliner off and it looked kind of trashy. That's kind of how it's been. I think the eyelid tattoos will be fully healed before my bruising is gone. And yeah, what else is there to say? They were incredibly polarizing again. Most of my followers on TikTok and Instagram enjoyed them, while the usual culprits came out in the masses. I had one guy say something along the lines of, I destroyed my face tattoos. They were so perfect before, and I look like a fucking, what did he say? It's a disaster and I look like shit. This is, again, a thing that you would not be able to say to me in person without being knocked out, walked away from, or shut down. These sorts of comments that you get, and I'm sure other people watching this will have had similar experiences, those motherfuckers would never ever say anything like that in person. So I live my life by the rule of, if I'm going to say something to you online, I better damn well be able to say it to you if I seen you in person. And those kinds of things have never happened. Literally everyone that came into that shop, during, after, and when I told them I was doing it before, had nothing but pleasant things to say, and perhaps they were biting their lips. I'm not actually assuming that everybody loves my decisions. What I'm assuming is that they're too cowardly, or perhaps social graces prevent them from being the monsters that they would otherwise love to be if they had the anonymity of social media. If you're thinking out there and you're about to leave a nasty comment here, maybe check if you would actually be able to say that to someone in person before you do, because there may be an event where it gets walked back, Like, there is some potential to meet that person in real life. And I'm not saying you have to fear an ass kicking or anything like that. Maybe it's just a stern talking to. But there is a chance always that you'll run into that person later. And a lot of people won't forget. I will, because I get these fucking things all the time. But, I've heard of people going on, killing sprees and school shootings and shit like this based on cyberbullying. And though I agree with free speech to me should be at a level of, I could say this to you no matter where I was without fear of the repercussions it would cause. If you can't do that, you should probably keep your fucking mouth shut. Just my thought on that. I'll say all kinds of insane things, say on Remy Reacts, and those things I can say firmly in person. I do that all the time here at the shop. The artists ask me for critique on their designs, for example, or a tattoo they've done, and I am as ruthless to them as I am on the show. And it comes from a place of care, not hatred or not anger, nothing like that. I do the same thing to my own work. So it's not as if I can't take it, but what it is to say that if I've said it to you, I could say it to you from any distance. And most of what gets said to me on social media is never, ever close to said in person. I have not had one nasty interaction about any of the tattoos I've done in person in a decade or more. And online, it could not be farther from the truth. I'll get posted by these clickbaity kinds of pages like Face Tattoo World and stuff, and you'll get these people doing vomit emojis and fucking minus 10,000 and shit. Just shut the fuck up, you fucking... No. You would never, ever, never. No one has ever puked. No one has ever done anything like that. It's absolutely bizarre to consider that you would. Now, I'm not saying you have to like these bats. I like them. I think they go with the flow of my filigree and stuff already. And I like how they look when I'm not with my eyes open and closed. I think they're pretty cool. And I actually think that they're going to catch on. I don't think it's going to be very long before you see goth girls and perhaps some goth guys, emo guys, whatever you want to call them, alternative people in general, doing very similar things. You can almost mark my words on that, as a lot of the things that I have done have caught on over the years. And this is not a humble brag, but I don't take it the wrong way either. There's people out there that think, you're not allowed to copy me. I came up with that idea. It's like, no. Love is love, bro. Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, and I don't take it hard. But I do expect to see other people doing something similar. That being said, hopefully they'll watch this video and they'll learn from my experience, and just know that your eyes have a tendency to fuck around on you when you're getting tattooed on them. So, anyway, it was an overall good experience. I knew this would be a long video. There was a lot to say, and I haven't done one in a while. I'm assuming 90% of my audience is tuned out. Probably around the time I started ranting about social media pressure. It seems to be a point that a lot of people never interface with and have no time for or appreciation for. But just know, if you are watching, there's some pretty gross people out there, and I feel pity for them more than anything, because living your life like that can't be fun. It just can't be fun to walk around spewing that kind of vile at pretty much everything you interact with in a day. Anyway, these are my new bats. Love them, hate them. God knows they're not going to be for everyone, but they are for me. And if you don't like change, you're following the wrong guy. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.